Today we're going to take a look at this fishing rod setup from Yakima. This is their ReelDeal Fishing Rod Holder. This is going to mount to the roof rack of your vehicle, and it's going to allow you to get up to 8 fishing rods loaded up and secured so you can carry them to and from your destination. What I really like about this carrier is that it allows me to get my fishing rods loaded on my roof so I don't have to store them in my vehicle anymore. If you don't have a truck, this is especially useful because you don't have a bed to store them in. You're not going to have to put them inside your vehicle. And if you're going to take the kids out fishing, you don't want them tampering with those hooks. And then you also don't want to have to remove them either. So this takes away a lot of hassle from breaking them down or taking the hooks off. You just get them all loaded up on your rooftop, you're going to be ready to go. Now, while this is a fishing pole carrier in the winter months, you are able to use it for either 2 snowboards or 4 sets of skis, so it's going to have a combination of uses. You can see how the rubber just molds to the shape of our snowboards to make sure that it has a tight fit. What's also really cool is that we have a wide variety of rods loaded up on our carrier right now. So if you have multiple rods you want to take out with you, you're going to be able to do that depending on what you're wanting to catch. You know, if you want to catch some catfish, bass, or crappie all in the same day, you can get the specific rods for those fish loaded up here. Now, one thing I do want to point out is that if you are going to load it up with 8 fishing rods, you can see right here that we had to kind of adjust where each reel sat. So it does take a little bit more time. You got to strategically place them to make sure they all fit, but it is still very manageable and you can still get them all loaded. Now, as you can see right here, all of our reels are facing down towards our roof. Now, some of them come pretty close to making contact with the top of our roof, but we were lucky enough to get them all loaded and not worry about it. If you find that you're having this issue and your reels are making contact with the top of your roof, you don't want to damage your reels at all, and you don't want to scratch out the top of your roof, there are some brackets you can get available here at etrailer. They're made by Yakima. Basically, it's just going to allow you to get your carrier mounted to a higher platform. That way, it's going to allow more space between your roof and your reel. One thing you do want to keep in mind is that with the rods loaded in this carrier, they are going to be exposed to the elements. Now, if you're worried about that, maybe you have some higher end rods that you want to protect better, or you just have a long road trip coming up and you don't want your rods outside that long. There is another option called the Yakima Topwater Rooftop Fishing Rod Carrier, and basically that's going to be a very long and narrow cargo box that is designed to be able to haul up to 8 fishing rods in an enclosed area to protect your fishing rods from the elements such as sun and rain. And it's also going to have a little bit more space on the inside. Once you get all of your rods loaded, you could even get some fishing nets in there or other cargo that goes along with your rods. You can see how our thick rubber right here molds to the shape of our fishing poles. Really make sure to have a good hold on them. These are very similar to the ski and snowboard carriers you see on the market where they have the rubber and it closes down on top of them. Basically what Yakima did, they wanted to make sure that this had a good hold of your fishing poles, so they made the rubber just a little bit thicker to make sure it really compresses down and gets a great hold on them. With those ski and snowboard carriers, the rubber is not as thick because the skis and snowboards are a lot thicker, so it needs to be able to close. The clamps are going to have these rubber pads that are going to help protect your roof rack from any type of scratches or abrasions. And you can see back here that rubber is also molding to the thicker handles on the backs of our rods. And when you're ready to load them up, you can see as I pull it down how it compresses onto our fishing poles. With that thick rubber, it's going to help make sure it doesn't harm or scratch your fishing rods. You just push it down and it clamps on. You want to make sure you get it as tight as you can. Once that has a good hold, just take your key and lock it up. The carrier is also going to come with the same key system from Yakima on both sides of it. With the included key, we'll just unlock it. From there, you just press the button and it comes up just like that to give you access to your fishing poles. And that's going to be the same thing here on the back with all of our handles. You may need to push a little bit harder to get it to compress, but it's going to clamp down very tight and make sure that your fishing rods are secure for your trip. Now with our carrier unloaded, we can have a closer look at it and just see how it operates. That's some really nice soft rubber right there. It's going to protect your rods. We can also see how it connects to our roof rack. Right now we have a factory roof rack on our vehicle, All it does is has 2 clamps on each side that come under our crossbar. You just tighten down that knob. The bolts is right in there. That's going to secure it to your roof. What's really cool actually is that you can see this Allen key bolt right here. That's going to be a nice security feature because it takes a special tool to be able to loosen it. And right now we cannot loosen or tighten up this knob. It's just a nice security feature, so even though your fishing poles are locked onto your carrier, it's just going to help make sure to deter people from removing the whole carrier itself. Now we'll just show you how it works real quick. We have our tool right here. We'll loosen the bolt. So once we loosen it enough, we're going to be able to loosen up the knob right here. What's going to happen is the bolt's going to come through the bottom of the clamp. And then once it's able to twist like that, you can pull the bolt up and through. And that way the clamp can come off and you can remove it. Now in the back of our bracket where the bottom part connects, we're going to have 3 different slots depending on the size of your crossbar. We just have our factory crossbars right now. It's going to work for most of those, but it's also going to work with arrow bars, round bars, square bars, and elliptical bars. Now if you have some thicker bars, like a thicker arrow bar or a thicker elliptical bar, you could lower this to the bottom notch and that'll make the gap a lot wider so it can fit those thicker crossbars. But if you got some smaller crossbars like square or round bars, you can just move the bracket up into this top slot so it'll fit those a lot tighter. Right now we got an average size bar, so we put it in the middle. Once you've got it in place, just take this T-bolt and put it through that clamp. And then we need to twist it and get it in the slot. You might need to loosen your knob up top a little bit more to get that to go up and through. Once you have it in place, just go ahead and tighten down the knob up top. And just continue to tighten down. We don't need it to be extremely tight, just get it pretty snug and it'll have a good hold of your roof rack. Once you have it snug, we'll just grab that Allen tool and tighten down that bolt again. And then when installing this, just repeat this process for the other clamp on the other side of our carrier, and then with your second part of the carrier, it's going to be the same thing. Now we can go ahead and get our rods loaded up. Again, like I said, you may need to be pretty strategic about how you place them. If you have any rods that are over 7 feet long, then Yakima does suggest going ahead and breaking those down and then putting both pieces onto the carrier. Standard spacing is going to be just about 3 inches apart, and you may need to stagger all of the reels to get them to fit properly. Now I went ahead and took our third reel and switched it with this orange one that I just placed, just because it just fit better that way. So here's another situation where we can go ahead and switch some rods around. I'm just going to pull this one forward because the back of the handle is longer. It'll work better to stagger our reels that way. Now we got our last rod in place. You want to touch up the front ends as well, make sure they're all evenly spaced. And we'll just shut our carrier. We'll grab our key, lock it up, and now we're ready to hit the road. Well, I hope this information helped you guys out, but that's going to do it for our look at the Yakima ReelDeal Fishing Pole Carrier.